we never learned that emotions and feelings and experience is actually an inside job. We constantly live in this drama dynamic. Actually, it's from psychology, I think, like this Dr. Stephen Karpman, I think, came up with this realization that, oh yeah, we're living in this drama dynamic with the roles of victims, persecutors, villains, and rescuers. So that's like basically the narrative you can observe everywhere, in books and stories and movies and songs, in our personal life, like you name it, it's a drama dynamic.
Welcome. I'm your host, Martijn Smeets, mental health trainer for entrepreneurs, and in this podcast, Redefine Success, Unscripted Stories, we'll dive into raw, unfiltered stories of people breaking the mold to inspire you to let go of the societal pressure and norm of success. And if you love what you hear, then drop a review and make sure to check out the Thrive Tribe, a community where personal and professional well-being comes together. Let's dive into it. Hello, Fabienne. It's so cool to have you here. I remember when I put out a post in the community that we're in around, that I'm looking for podcast guests that I was starting out, and you reached out to me because I asked, people that feel successful in life. And I still remember you saying to me, yeah, but does it count if I feel successful in life, but not so much in business yet? So instantly made me curious for your story, and we hopped onto that virtual coffee call. And yeah, I think this can become a very, very interesting episode, one that a lot of people resonate with, because very often, or we thrive in business or we thrive in life, but I've noticed there's a very small percentage that was able to, or is able to, unlock both and thrive in both areas. So to hear that part of life is beautiful and life is good, business may not be where I want it to be, I think there will be some very, like, many golden nuggets there. Because also when I was reading through the intro that you shared with me, and that was actually something I forgot, was you're a mind and a heart set coach, working to help people find their own way of success, create their own fulfilling life, away from all the things that you have to do. But that word of mindset and heart set, I love that. Can't remember who it was from, but I've had the theory before of mindset, heart set, soul set. And was there a fourth one, or was it those three? But I haven't done the research into it, but I'm very curious to hear a little bit
The
more,
wealth
maybe later in the
set,
podcast.
maybe.
And then,
Maybe it's the wealth set. I don't
yeah,
know.
potentially could be, or the body set or something like that, like this. But yeah, like, I'm very curious to dive into what that means a little bit later in. But first off, just like, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, like, let's dive right into it, and let's just start with the question of, because you saying I feel successful in life, not so much in business yet. Let's just go there straight away. What
Mm.
does a successful life for you mean?
Wow, right to the gist of it, right?
Exactly.
What does a successful life what does a successful life mean? Is that what you asked?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess my definition as of now, my personal definition is that a successful life is a life that you are able to enjoy the process of, right? A life that you can live where you really feel like everything that comes to you is an opportunity to grow, is an opportunity to experience something else, like something more, is an opportunity to connect, to learn, and to experience emotions as well, moving through this experience of like energy in motion through the body. I think that's really what, in my opinion, a successful life look like. The ability to be able to use it, for your personal growth, and also for other people around you as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Love that. Love that. Because I've asked the question before in this podcast. When you look at success, because when I hear you say, you explaining your definition of success, what you are saying is it's a certain emotional experience of life. So when you say that, would, in your opinion, is success a thing that you achieve, or is that an emotion that you experience?
So I guess that's where the art and the balance comes in, I suppose, right? But for me personally, it's the experience. But that being said, the programming of how we understand and how we view success in today's world and how we use the word success is definitely still ingrained, and it's definitely still something that I'm still working on to kind of release or make sense of in my body and my physical experience as well.
But
That
maybe add a little bit of
yeah.
context. Like for you, how were you raised? Like what is your integrated version of success when you look at, how it was taught to you in your childhood?
Having money, having a good amount of money, having a good title, a good job, uh, being able to go on pretty vacations in beautiful hotels and, having good, nice clothes, eating good food and good restaurants kind of thing. Like material things, really. Material and titles, I suppose, in terms of like the job and career and everything, which will then lead to the financial rewards according to their theory. and that and that then leads to that successful life
Mm.
where you can yeah, where you can buy and afford these not necessarily luxurious, at least not in that, but yeah, probably luxurious things.
Yeah. Actually, I've never asked you that because you live in Switzerland now. Are you originally from
Mm.
Switzerland? Are you originally from there?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Switzerland, but middle class. So we were not rich at all in that sense. My dad was super young when they got pregnant with me. I was the first one. He was 20 years old, and so my mom is from a wealthy family, so he had lots of pressure to
Yeah.
accommodate to her needs.
No,
And yeah,
but still, like from a Western country, and even like middle class in Switzerland is, compared to even to many other Western countries, is more in the upper class. And so it's like it's definitely a country
definitely.
out there where wealth, I can't say is seen as a priority through the culture because I don't know the culture that well, but that's what you are sharing here as well now, and like I've been raised often in a very similar way of success has to go first. And because like when I asked you before if success is an emotion or something you achieve, you said for you it's an emotion, but then there's that part that is still screaming inside of you, yes, but
Hmm.
that's definitely part I also have, and then that's definitely when I look at the entrepreneurial success, when I think about that part. But then when we say that, when we look at I know some very, in my eyes, successful entrepreneurs. I wouldn't say they experience life as being successful because they're constantly what I would call in a survival mindset, even though they're
Mm.
earning 3, 5, 10, 15Ks a month, they're
Yeah.
still in that survival mindset and they still don't look at themselves as successful, even though they're driving around with a nice car and
Mhm.
have a nice house, and they have all of these things that are deemed to be successful, but they still don't feel it. They still don't have that experience of it. Like, you and I are explaining that we do have, like you have,
Yeah.
without having all of that. So I think that's
Yeah,
something to think about.
definitely. And I think one of the main reason why that is because we are taught to find that feeling and experience of success in the outside and the circumstance, in the things that we achieve. And so we have this belief that when we achieve a certain thing, that's what's going to bring us a certain feeling and experience. But then when we achieve this thing and we don't have that experience, we don't pause and stop and question things. We just think, "Ah, it's not the thing yet. I guess I have to, you know, I have to achieve that next thing, and then that next thing, and then that next thing." And so often yeah, we don't even take that time to pause and stop and even define what it means to be successful, to define our goals and the reasons why we actually want to achieve something. And that's something that I've been observing in the past years working with people. It's like people want to achieve a certain thing in the outside, thinking that that's what they want, not realizing that what they actually want or what they're actually
When you
after is
say
something that they want to feel. Yeah.
or just for context, when you say achieving in the outside, what do you mean with that specifically?
Um, Achieving in the outside in the sense of having a better job or getting, getting a better title, uh, having your own business, fulfilling a project or doing a thing, getting a car, whatever, like material things as well that they are, but not even necessarily material things. Sometimes it's, well, a relationship is also material, right? There's another person in in the game. So even that aspect, like, okay, once I find the right partner, I'm gonna feel loved, I'm gonna feel happy and fulfilled. But so you always put the way that you feel onto the outside. So you're basically controlled by your circumstances, and you give your power away to everything around you, because you let that determine how you feel on the inside. And nobody can be blamed for that, because we never learned it any other way. We never learned that emotions and feelings and experience is actually an inside job.
Yes.
And so we constantly live uh, in this drama dynamic. Actually, I don't know if you've heard, like, it's from psychology. I think, like, this Dr. Stephen Karpman, I think, came up with this realization that, oh yeah, we're living in this drama dynamic with the roles of victims, persecutors, villains, and rescuers. So that's like basically the narrative you can observe everywhere, in books and stories and movies and songs, in our personal life, like you name it, it's a drama dynamic. He didn't come up with a solution to that. It's just like, ah, this is what it is. Now deal with it. Like, this is just your experience, right? And so we continuously live in this, and we try to empower each other within this narrative. So we still keep feeding this idea of there being victims and persecutors and villains, and and
I
one
think
of the biggest, yeah, go
I
on.
I think when you say that, because you explain that now, but for many people this might be completely new. Like I haven't heard too much about it myself yet either. But like everyone who's listening here now, I like hear what Fabienne just said. We all live in a drama triangle. Or you're
Yeah,
the prosecutor, or you're the victim, or you're the rescuer. Like
exactly.
I really want to invite you right now to actually take a moment to reflect. Whether it is in your business, in your personal life, who are you? Are you the one going out of your way to constantly help others and pull people out of the rut and, spending all of your resource, and I'm not talking financial ones, also just your time, your energy, to just help someone else? Are you that person that is constantly blaming, your unsuccessfulness in business, you feeling sad or unhappy in the moment, whatever you are experiencing? Are you blaming it on something external or focusing now on you? Or are you that prosecutor who is, the judge of everything? Are you doing, how should I explain the prosecutor? Are you dealing the pain to the victim, and so that the rescuer has a job? Like really
Mm.
ask yourself that, and be honest with yourself. Where in that triangle are you? Because this is a question that I would then ask you: is there a balance between the three? Is there like a sweet spot where we want to be? Is there a way to get out of it? Like, do you have
Mm.
your own vision on that?
Yes, I do indeed. And so you can almost imagine that triangle to be upside down, right? So the tip of it is at the bottom actually, and that's where the role of the victim is. And at the top right, for example, you have the villain or the persecutor, and at the top left you have the rescuer. And if we look at life, like like a simple example of a relationship, or a relationship that's maybe not the most beautiful or the most aligned right now. You have balances. And so husband might come home stressed from work regularly and just downloading everything onto his wife at home, who just wants to have connection. But now she has to deal with listening to him not wanting to be with her, etc., etc. So she feels like the victim in this relationship, right? He, on his side, doesn't feel like a persecutor. He feels like the victim because he's basically just the victim of his work and of his circumstances there. So him talking to his wife is him talking to a rescuer. She might even fall into that role of trying to help him a little bit. Maybe he wants to be helped, maybe not, which then puts her again into the victim state. Eventually, she will become a persecutor to him because she doesn't pull up with this shit anymore. So she's going to start either pulling away or being snappy at him, not wanting to listen, not being home when he's coming home. So then he feels a victim of her as well at home, not being treated, not getting the love he needs because she doesn't want to pull up with his drama that he brings from work. So these roles constantly shift and switch. So you're never just one. And oftentimes we think that we are the good guys, not realizing that we're doing a lot of harm to others as well, even in our goodwill, even in our trying to help. And that's where the drama keeps feeding itself. And so that we need to change is to bring it from this upside down drama triangle into a flipped up again, where the victim role now is at the top, but it's not the victim role anymore, right? So now we switch it into an empowerment dynamic triangle, and that's actually something that this guy David came up with, that antidote to the drama triangle. And when I started hearing this, I was blown away, because if you start changing the way that you look at things through this new lens, and I'm going to share with you in a second the different roles, it changes your whole experience. It's not going to be a flip from now, like in a second. It takes time to reprogram this because we're so deeply rooted in this victimhood and this victim mentality, and everything around us feeds into this. And I've experienced it when I broke my back. People come to me saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, this must be so hard for you, like having pity on me, putting me into the role of a victim when I had one of the most magical experiences in my life, having that accident. So they don't understand it. They then comes like, oh yeah, but maybe it's just, it will catch up with you once you realize that you're damaged. It will catch up with you once you realize that you're limited. Like, well, that's the drama way of looking at it, right? But so if we flip it, now think of the victim role being at the top. What could that be named? What would the persecutor become? And the persecutor, we often think of just as a person. It doesn't have to be a person. It can be a circumstance. So for me, it could have been that I broke my back, my injury, right? That could be my persecutor. So what can that be in an empowered lens? And then the rescuer, who is, if he or she is a rescuer, or even that doesn't have to be a person. It can be a substance as well. That's like helping the victim to deal with their pain or their struggles. So it can be alcohol as well. So if the rescuer becomes more of an empowered character or identity, or yeah, identity. What would it be? Do you have any ideas?
I would just slap the name Empower on it because I've struggled a lot with the rescuer role myself, and I noticed within
Mm.
me, like I've learned that as long
Welcome
as
to the
I'm in,
club.
yeah, as long as I'm in a rescuer role, I'm not allowing the victim to step out of it. So, instead of rescuing, I should start empowering the victim to step out, to step out of his own shit instead of me
Mm,
pulling him out. So I would just
mm,
slap the name Empower on it. But I'm very curious
mhm,
to hear what the top of the triangle would be as well, because I
mhm.
have no idea what the victim would turn into.
So if you think from that perspective now, instead of being the rescuer of a victim, you're now someone who empowers. What is that person that you empower in themselves? Like, what is the quality that they have innately within themselves already? We're all like creators. We're all creators and shapers of our own reality. And so now the victim becomes a co-creator to their life, an active
Yeah.
creator of their life through starting to understand these different roles and different events through different lens. So you say, yeah, the empower. I like to call it like the cheerleader or a coach, somebody, a supporter, somebody who's there to initiate, like initiate a little bit of an uplift, but not somebody who's like there to just do all the work for them, because the rescuer is always also fed, like their identity is reliant on the victim being a victim.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're in fear as well. So the whole drama triangle dynamic is like it's in a fear-based, survival-based lack mentality. And the empowerment dynamic now shifts that, because every entity is their own, in their own rights, like they're creators. And we should support each other on the journey. And so now we have the last role of the villain and the persecutor. What does that become through an empowered lens? So when I am the creator of my life and my reality, I have supporters and coaches and cheerleaders around me who might be empowering me. But what is a back injury, for example? What is somebody who's trying to hurt me?
I'd say
There,
that
it's like,
the challenger is what comes to mind.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a challenger. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to realign, to reconnect, to grow, to learn.
Ah,
And
you,
now, like everything that happens to you, and that's another thing that, we could go into. It's like the levels of consciousness that we're living in. Do you experience life as happening to you? Do you experience life as happening for you? Do you experience life as happening through you and from you?
yeah,
So
but
we
like,
step up in these levels of consciousness there, right? But just changing that lens of like, okay, this person is not here, even though they might think that they're here to like destroy us, but I get to choose how I view them. Like I don't have to be in their role. That's their story, but I can create my own story and I can put whatever meaning I choose onto their behavior, onto that event, onto that situation. And then I can make whatever magic out of it that I want.
exactly. And like, even though I'd love to dive deep into this, but I feel like that could be on a different podcast or just a conversation between us. Because like you definitely
100%.
inspired me to get to know, to read a book or do something with the drama circle, because I think it's a very, very empowering way to look at life and to look at certain situations. But like, to everything that we've shared right now, I'd love to add one small thing, and then I'd love to dive into your story a little bit, how you went from,
Mhm.
this coming out of a family that is money focused, or a culture, to now being, coming in here and talking about the drama circle and conscious states and stuff. Because like when it comes to success, and that's also, I also see that happening within that drama circle, and not just success, literally anything in life, anything we do in life, whether, us coming here onto this podcast, whether it's uh, having some food, whether it's starting a business, we do everything to feel something. Like we
Mhm.
don't, that's our only true motivation behind anything we do is to achieve a certain emotion. Whether it's if you feel unsafe, you might go in hiding, hide in your room to feel safe. If you're hungry, you're going to eat to feel fulfilled. If you feel like you can't support your family, then you might, dive into your business and escape in your business until you feel like you can do that. There's We always trying to achieve something, a happiness, sadness, and but like I think realizing that, also you being in a victim mindset, whether you like it or not, we like to not feel in control because it's easier to blame and it's our comfort zone. As a rescuer, we feel good about
100%.
ourselves if we can help someone. So if that person doesn't want to be helped anymore, I can't feel good about myself. So I like being in that rescue mode. But all of that comes down to wanting to experience a certain emotion. And when we are talking about feeling successful, I think what you said very well in the beginning, and what I'd love to hear your journey on how you got to that point, is that we need to clarify and define for ourselves what is success, what emotional experience of life for me means that I am living a successful life. Because for
Mhm.
someone who's very poor, if that person can put food on the table 2 or 3 times a week and can send his kids to school, that's a very successful life. Like we in the Western world, we are lucky or unlucky enough, depending through which lens you look at it, that we have all these luxury problems, and that we get to think about all the things that we are talking about here. But the core thing is still the same. We are trying to create a better emotional experience today than that we had yesterday. And that's our evolution as a human being, and that's why I find this podcast so important, to really inspire people to truly think about what is your emotional experience of a successful life. Because I think in every episode, and if everyone logically thinks, we all know, if I have 10 million in my bank account but I feel unhappy and unfulfilled, you're not going to feel successful,
Mm.
right? So but let's dive
Exactly.
into your journey a little bit. So being from Switzerland, coming from one wealthy side of the family, I can imagine your dad and your mum. There was also a drama circle going, a drama triangle going on there, of
Oh, yeah.
victim,
A
rescuer,
lot.
all of that. You breaking your back, I can only imagine what kind of a life-changing experience that would be. And you now sitting on that chair with a big yoga background by now, as a coach, as developing yourself as an entrepreneur. We just talked about it, how happy we are in our home, or my chosen home country here in
Mhm.
the mountains. What was that journey like? How did you move from that family background? Like, just take us through your story a little bit of the most pivotal moments of you trying to fit into that idea of what success is supposed to be, to where you are today. Just try and pick out some pivotal moments.
Wow, yeah, and that all in, like, 10 minutes?
We know,
That
right?
might be a whole yeah. No, I think, uh, it's hard to, like, pinpoint specific moments, right? And why I chose the path that I chose, why I chose the way of thinking that I did. But it started rather early. I think it was 17. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was living at my dad's place at the time. He took us from our mom because there was some challenges there. She couldn't take care of us, but he wasn't really, you know, settled for really taking care of us, but he did his best, and he did a great job in his terms. But I was not yeah, it did not land well for me as a teenager then, and I felt controlled and manipulated and not seen, not supported. And so one Sunday afternoon, I just chose to pack my things, write him a letter, and leave. And so I left home. with a commitment to myself that I will never rely on his money, that I will never go back to him for like any support, and I'm gonna make my own life. And then through that, a little bit, it came that I just started to live a very low budget life. I didn't have jobs that pay like a lot of money, and the journey started continuing when when I didn't feel fulfilled in a job anymore. I would just move on and do something else that I appreciated. I started doing became a snowboard instructor. That's a little bit where more of the freedom lifestyle started happening. But I was still chasing a better position, having potentially my own shop one day, because that's what would prove that I would be successful and that I will make it and that I am worth something, because there's something that my dad at some point planted unconsciously and not purposefully, I guess, but that a thought, that a belief that I'm never gonna amount to anything. And so that's something that I chased for a long time, and probably still unconsciously there's parts of me that still chases this. It's a beautiful dance there. And through that, just trying to create my own life according to my own terms, uh, for a long time without the need for more money. So it's just like really, it started to become about me. Like I wanted to feel happy, I wanted to feel joyful, I wanted to be doing the things that I love to do. And that's just what I started creating, not
Just
worrying about the money.
a very
Yeah.
quick question in between there, because I relate a lot to this story. There's some parts that are very similar in my own journey. In that journey, when you say, living that low budget life, did you ever build some kind of resentment towards money,
Resentment in the sense of,
of seeing it as this bad, evil thing?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, 100%. 100%. And that was like, yeah, it started in my punk years. Like that started already around, well, no, yeah, around 17 years old. I think that's when I turned to like, okay, yeah, I don't want to feed into this consumerism, etc. So I went down that road, and then yeah, just said fuck money. I'm gonna create myself a low budget lifestyle where I don't need a lot. I don't buy myself a lot of clothes. Like I still live in clothes from like 10, 12 years ago, like yeah. And
But I think
yeah.
that part of your journey is already definitely for many, many people very inspiring, because you were feeling things you didn't want to feel. And instead of just pushing those emotions down and listening to what the rest of the world was saying, you said, fuck their opinion. I'm going to do me and I'm going to focus on me. And at
Yeah.
17, you packed up, you left, and you started to work your way towards a life that you wanted. And I
Yeah.
can imagine there were many, many challenges that came with that. But like, what I really love the people,
Not only challenge, there was a lot of beautiful experiences with that too.
100%, huh? But like, because that's
But
what you said.
challenges,
That,
yeah.
that that's with that triangle that you talked about. If you flip it upside
Mhm.
down, there's that challenger, and you need those challenges to create those. Or that's my personal experience, at
Mhm.
least, to create those really beautiful moments. But the thing that I'd love to put a big explanation mark around is the fact that you went out there, you took a job, you, instead of staying in that job, once you noticed it wasn't fulfilling enough anymore, you chose to go to something else, and you
Yeah.
kept on moving and taking steps, and you didn't you were not happy enough, you weren't content enough to stay with a position that you were not feeling fulfilled in. And I think
Mhm.
that is a very, very powerful lesson that you learn at a very young age of, if you want something to change, you're gonna have to do something about it. Waiting on the world
Yes.
to change it for you is, the waiting game, and
Yeah.
we never know. So yeah.
There's pros and cons. So later on, there was a moment where I started realizing that I've been uh, yeah, where I started realizing I'm chasing in the outside, like this, this next level things that will make me feel better. And so I paused and I stopped, and there was one possession actually when I started like 10 years ago when I came here. I got this wonderful job. It was a fun job. I loved to go to work, but there was a lot of things within that job that I didn't like. That didn't make me feel like I was seen. That didn't make me feel like I was appreciated for the work that I'm doing, for my ideas and the passion that I bring in. And so I had very early already the urge to leave that job again. But there I paused and I said to myself, like, no, you can't keep trying to chase different circumstances in order to feel a different way. And then I made it my job and my journey to not allow myself to leave that job until I can find a way to love that job no matter what, like how it is. It's just accept it. Let's just call it acceptance, not necessarily loving, right? But just being okay with it before I move on. And that was a really, really interesting journey because you start looking at things again differently. So after 5 years, there came a moment where I was like, okay, I could stay here and I could be content and happy and like I can make it work. But I really feel like I I desire something else. Not because I feel like I want, you know what I mean? It's not a chasing. Like I already experience it. I can be here, I could be happy, but I want the next level experience. So now it's not about me doing this next thing because I think I'm going to feel better then, but because of me wanting that experience. And so I jumped out of my job, opened a yoga studio with zero business plan, zero ideas, zero resources. And that was my next fun endeavor that you could say was a failure, but it wasn't because I succeeded in moving. I succeeded in creating something. I succeeded in creating beautiful experiences, workshops, classes for people who joined.
But
Um,
before we dive deeper into that, I want to unpack what you shared there before a little bit. That part of staying in that job, because it's something I very much noticed within myself, not so much in a job, but within traveling. Um, I've been on the road for like I left when I was 20. With the idea of I'm going to do a month trip, did the European bartending school in Thailand, and then I came back and I was going to go to university. That was the plan. Well, that month turned into 2 months, turned into me not being allowed into university because I didn't do well enough on the test. Oh, such a shame. And that's how my first winter season came along in Austria. And, since then I've just constantly been on the road. And at some point I was feeling a similar thing as you felt within that job of, okay, no, I can't just keep on running away. That's kind of the words that I heard in my mind. I
mm,
can't keep on running away all the time the second something becomes uncomfortable. And because with what I said before, you need to create the change that you want. I do think it's important, exactly like you say, that you if you are going to make a big change, that you know your reasoning, that you know that you've tried. I just like a romantic relationships. I feel like with all the choice that we have in the world today, there's many relationships that can work, but do you want to put in the work to make it work? And I think that is also in jobs, also in business. And when I look at myself, because I think this might be, very, very relevant to many people in the world with the whole digital nomad community. There's so much going on, so many people traveling everywhere. I noticed every time something happened on an island or wherever I was, something happened that made me feel uncomfortable, I take off. I'd be like,
mm,
okay, tomorrow, plane ticket, boat ticket, whatever it may be, I'm off to the next place because
mm.
I can just get away from that. I never learned to deal with this discomfort,
Discomfort.
but that can be very, very destructive. Or, if you never learn to deal with it, you're always going to keep on running away. And,
Mm,
I was running away through buying plane tickets. some other entrepreneurs that I know, they're running away with jumping behind their computer or starting a new project and working 20 hours a week. And so there's always that sense of running away. And for you,
Yeah.
you decided that as well. Or you realized that as well with this job. Instead of running away, no, let's stick to this. And you don't have to love it, but at least until you can accept it. And I think that's a very beautiful way to put it. And I think
Yeah.
for
And
many,
just understanding that I get to generate that feeling here. And yes, it's not always easy. That's not what I'm right. If the circumstance, if there's a lot of bullying and like this like icky energy around, then of course it's gonna be more challenging. But still, you have that power to actually still enjoy the work that you do and the things that you do in whatever way, shape, or form. You just find a way to be okay with it for the moment. But a lot of people think that if they accept their situation, that that means that they'll have to stick with it for the rest of their life. And that's another concept that a lot of people get wrong. This like acceptance piece. It's like I can't accept this. I can't yeah, I can't accept this. But if you can't accept a certain situation, it will always continue haunting you. There will always be a piece of it latched onto you. It's through the acceptance that you can start letting it fully go and move on to the next thing without having to have that burden and luggage of that dragging onto you.
exactly, you can't let anything go unless you accept that it's there. So,
Yeah.
nah, love that. So then you decided, okay, let's leave this job. Let's open a yoga school. And like you said, without any business knowledge, you already said it before, it turned out to be a failure in, in some ways, but in many ways it was a learning experience. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened there?
Yeah, I was playing with with mental visualizations and manifesting practices of like trying to create something. And I had this vision for quite some time in my head. I wanted to create a center for people where they can come to do yoga, to learn different modalities around well-being, mental health, soul health, and everything. And one day I found this post on Facebook that there was a room free. I went to check it out. I fell in love with it. It wasn't the full thing yet, but it felt like perfect thing to start this vision small. And I invited others to support me, and I had people who came in, who pitched in, who helped me open the studio, who helped me run classes. And but yeah, it didn't take long until I was all by myself again in there as well, running it, because one of my main partners, her husband died on a speed flying accident. Actually, we have a lot of them here, so that took her out. And then yeah, and then I eventually ended up having to run the whole thing alone, which was fun but also exhausting. And I didn't have the resources at the time and the skills as well. So I was actually, again, blessed through Corona, because COVID gave me the opportunity to drop my ego and to say, okay, I guess I have to cut this. That was right, yeah, right when Corona hit. And so I was able to close it down eventually again without my ego having to feel defeated. So I could use Corona for as a reason that I had to close it.
You could step
But
into
so
that
there's
victim
yeah, there's
mindset there, huh?
yeah, yeah, totally. Play that role out. But no, eventually I'm very open. I feel like it was a blessing, so to speak. And yeah. Yeah, it's like it's just it's I think, and not I think, I just looked up the definition of success before, because you know
Love that.
coming up to this, I have my ideas of success and stuff, but then I was like, okay, let me check what the current definition is, and what the etymology is, because I really love to do that, to play with words, to take concept and actually look what the original meanings of it is. And when I looked it up, it it says that it's like the original meaning of it is to where is it? Come after, follow after, go near to, come under, take the place of, and also go from under, mount up, and ascend. So get on well, prosper, like being victorious. So if we look at it from this perspective, success isn't like a final destination. Success is that constant moving forward, that readjusting, realigning, trying again, that trial and failure, trial and error. And it's only been in the 1500s, 1800s that success started to be defined as wealth
Mm.
and successful in terms of achieving a specific goal.
Yeah, well,
But
I love that.
the original meaning of it is to be in a process, right? Like a success, what is it? Succession, the
Yeah.
English word. The sequence of events.
You should send me that link because I've looked it up, but I never found that that part of it, and I think that's super interesting.
Mm,
Definitely, of course, to bring into this podcast a
yeah,
little bit because it's obviously very aligned with what we're doing. But like,
yeah.
it brings me to a question that I really like to ask everyone in the podcast. If you, because I love that you looked it up for yourself, if you could write a new definition today, a new textbook definition, what would that be?
If I were to write the definition, well, I guess something along the lines that I opened up with today. Success success is to be able to see things as opportunities, to keep
Mm,
on moving forward, to keep on growing, to keep on realigning, and to make having an experience. I'm not saying a good experience, I'm not saying a bad experience, just having an experience. Make that your main priority. And as long as you're having experiences and you can create from these experiences something new, you're succeeding in life.
and absolutely love how you say that because it's just all about experiencing. Goes back a little bit to what we talked about in the beginning, that the emotional experience of something. And you brought it in. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I think let's take the good or bad out of it completely because I would even
It's
dare
just
to
another concept.
well, I
It's
would
just
dare
another mind concept. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a whole other conversation that we can probably go on for another hour easily, just about the fact of there is no good or bad. There is just comfortable and uncomfortable, and everything that's uncomfortable we deem as bad, and everything that's comfortable we deem as good. But
Mhm.
when we actually logically start to talk about it, but let's not go there too deeply because I know we will go off in tangents, and we'll both love the conversation too much.
I would love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I could definitely see another episode of just letting this conversation go wherever it goes. But just to go a little bit more into your story because you talked about that yoga school. Then Corona hit, so that's not too long ago. Um, I'm curious to hear from you because you reached out to me saying I feel like I live a successful life. Where can you remember where that switch kind of happened for you from fighting to feel whatever you wanted to feel when you left home at 17 to that moment? Like, what was that moment where you could define,
Mhm.
okay, now I feel like I live a successful life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it hasn't been that long ago because I think it was maybe half a year ago or something where I had an
Mm,
epiphany because even though I have been creating a successful life already for myself, like I'm doing the things that I love doing, there's still limits to that because of the finances for sure, but I wasn't even aware of that. And I felt like I still had this need. And so that's how subtle sometimes it is, right? Like you think you understand, and then yet there's still these things that you think you needed to achieve. But I wanted a bigger bed, a nicer apartment, nicer house. So it's literally like all these little things. I wanted to have a successful business, meaning that I have people coming, in flocks to me, wanting to work with me and collaborate with me. I wanted to also upgrade my car game. I want to have a little bit of a better car and a relationship. I do desire to potentially experience a beautiful romantic relationship and create a family. And and so those are things that I was working towards manifesting. And yet somehow it's just like nothing of it manifested. And I started feeling a little bit desperate, but then there was a moment when I also started realizing that actually, even though nothing has changed, the way that I feel has changed so much. And me not having achieved all of these things yet, manifested all of these outside circumstances, was yet another gift to me from my higher self, from the universe, from whatever it is. It's a gift to me for me to see and understand that what I'm preaching is actually real. Because if I had all of these new things and situations in the outside and I would feel that way, I wouldn't know proof. But now, me not having anything really changed in the outside circumstances, and yet feeling so completely different, not having to deal with these huge episodes of depression and anxiety, not having to um, not feeling so incredibly insecure in myself, not knowing what I'm doing, not knowing my value, not all of these things. But I had it. And on top of that, I also broke my back, which should have been one of the biggest push downs, right? Like, not only do
Yeah.
I not have all of these things achieved, now on top of that, I also have a major, like, physical impairment, even though that got very lucky. So I'm still able to do most of the things that I used to do. But still, I had all of these things not in place, and yet I feel content. I feel confident. I feel happy. Am I not frustrated ever? No, of course I am. Am I not sad and depressed ever? No, of course I am. But the experience of it is more enjoyable too, because I don't see it anymore as depression. I just see it as me needing deep rest. And I acknowledge that usually when I get depressed, it's because I haven't nurtured myself enough, because I'm stressed out,
Mm.
I'm doing too much. So if I look at it from a different angle again, I can just allow the experience, even if it's a little bit uncomfortable and it sucks, and I have to reach out for support and like ask friends to give me a little bit of comfort. But then I'm out of it again. And I don't have to make a
Yeah.
story of it for myself, that I drag myself down and down and down and down and down, of how unworthy I am and how unsuccessful I am and what a failure I am, and all of these things that our brain then tends us to get into.
Yeah, but I love like this is a rephrase that I'll definitely take with me. Not deep, not depressed. I need deep rest. I think that is an empowering
Yeah,
thought to have. Um, but like for I'll advocate for you. If there's any conscious man anywhere near Switzerland listening to this, you just heard it. She's looking. She's open. She's on the market. No, but all jokes aside, I like I think that's very inspiring of, externally because the vision of success is so focused in the external. Externally, you notice nothing changed, but internally you notice that change. And
everything.
that's when you experience that. I think that is such a beautiful and empowering thing to hear, potentially for many people, because I know economics isn't at the best place where it's been. I know where I live, like life is getting more expensive, but paychecks aren't getting up. Like food costs 40% more than half a year ago here where I live now. So it's and many
Wow.
people are struggling
Mm,
in that financial sense. And I think it's so empowering to hear you say, for you externally, nothing changed, but I found my success internally, and that I think is such an empowering message. And like
yeah.
with that being said, I would love to ask you, imagine that there is someone in that situation that is fighting, working so hard to achieve something, no matter what it is, feels unsuccessful, feels not good enough, feels maybe a little bit depressed from time to time or depressed from time to time. What is the advice that you would give that person today?
Hmm. To relax because everything is okay. And to observe the stories that you tell yourself and start questioning whether those stories are really true. Ask yourself whether there's evidence for those stories not to be true, because there are, if we are really honest with ourselves. And just start easing back into the heart, into the here and now, because when you just really let go of all of the stories, all of the thinking, and just come back to the heart, to your seat right here, right now, and take a deep breath, you notice, like, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm okay. And that eases your nervous system, that relaxes you and allows you to, you know, take smarter decisions again moving forward.
So, could you add a practical tool for that person listening that is resonating with this on how to go to that here and now? How can I go from wherever I am and come back to that here and now?
It's very simple. It's very simple. You observe, you notice that you are in a situation where you struggle, where you need a technique, and you just close your eyes, you take a deep breath in, you pause a second, and you exhale fully and completely. That's it. It doesn't take more than that. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be massive. It's like, and in the moment, I realize that I'm getting into my stories. I realize I feel this tension building up in my body. I realize that I'm worried and anxious about the future or sad about the past. Now, can I come back here? Close my eyes, take a deep breath, exhale fully and completely, and realize, like, actually, everything is fine right here until the next thought comes. And then we do that again and again. So it's like building up a muscle over time, but it doesn't have to be a huge, huge, complicated thing to do. It can really start with a simple conscious breath.
Hmm.
If you manage to do 3, that's even better. But it's like it's just that practice of noticing, acknowledging, checking in, releasing.
I absolutely love that. I love easy, practical tools because sometimes people come
Mm,
up with such difficult, intricate things. Just take a deep breath and exhale completely. Notice
yeah.
and keep on doing that because it's like you say, it's a practice. In the beginning, you might have to do it a lot. I've been there. I'm like, I personally say for myself, like my breath is the composer of my body and mind. So if I
Mm,
can breathe slow and contained, then my body and mind will feel the same. So like I love that you bring that tool into it.
yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
running out of I was slowly running out of time, Fabiennes, but like I really feel that it's very possible that an episode 2 is coming or part 2 if you are up to that. But before we go there, take a moment to market yourself a little bit as well if you want to. If there's anything coming up, where can people find you? Just share whatever you feel like sharing.
Sure. So I'm on Instagram, mostly Instagram and LinkedIn at the moment. So that's where you can find me. I don't know if you drop the things. It's this underscore is underscore Fabienne on Instagram, and LinkedIn is just Fabienne Egger, my name. So you should find me there. And apparently, I think we're collaborating for a workshop in your community as well. So I'll dive deeper into the concept of this empowerment dynamic triangle. So where we can really start experiencing it and translating it into our personal lives. And otherwise, I'm open for one-to-one coaching sessions. I normally work with clients over 4 to 6 months, really, really equipping them with the foundations that they need, like the foundational skills they need in order to live a joyful and, I don't want to say happy life because then people get the wrong idea, but like a good experience of life that's like self-empowered, and
Mm,
learning all of these new ways of looking at things through the empowered lens, through the lens of a creator rather than a victim, and observing and noticing when we are a victim and acknowledging that part of ourselves as well, and being okay with us needing to feel that role of the victim, but then just own it, right? Own it, and knowing that that's a choice of mine right now to be in that victim mode. And then that alone makes you the creator of it again. So
mm.
yeah, open to work with and happy to collaborate and
If I
share.
if I was
Yeah.
seeking for something like that, and you know, you and everything that you shared would definitely be something I'd be reaching out to. So I am definitely vouching for you, even though, you know, we haven't had that many conversations. Every single one has been super, super empowering. But like you
Mm.
said, I will drop all the links in the show notes. And like Fabienne said herself, she will be hosting a workshop within the Thrive Tribe. Also, that link is in the show notes. So if you want to be there, make sure to go and check out that link, or check out my link tree, and you'll find the workshops upcoming for the coming month in there as well. So then I just really want to thank you for your time and for your
Thank
beautiful
you.
insights and this beautiful conversation, Fabienne.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope this episode was valuable to you. And if it was, share it with someone else who might benefit from it as well. And if you want to support the podcast a little bit more, a like, a subscribe, or even a review could go a long way. And if you are looking for more weekly insights, practical tips filled with resources, and updates on future free workshops, then sign up for the Thrivewire, my bite-sized value-focused newsletter to help you thrive beyond the hustle. Sign up at www.thrivetribe.space/newsletter, or find the link in the description. Thanks again, and see you in the next episode.